Hey everyone, it's Jacob Jake's Metal Chat. Hope you're all well and welcome to episode 52 of my Metal Vault, where I will be exploring and showing you my favorite albums within heavy metal to thrash metal to death metal, black metal, doom metal, sludge metal, folk metal, you name it, all of that excellent stuff. And this album here, no freaking question, is a banger. No freaking question. One of my all-time favorites and one of my favorite bands from Sweden. As you know, I love my Swedish death metal. Be it they use the HM2 or not, still excellent Swedish death metal right there. The band that I'm talking about, all you veterans know this band, but for anyone that's not familiar, do check them out if you love your death metal. Hypocrisy. And I finally got to see them in 2019 at Bloodstock, but missed their set at the O2 in Birmingham when they were on tour with Arch Enemy and Amon Amarth. So, but like I said, saw them at Bloodstock, so wasn't too disappointed. But it would have been nice to see him again in a venue, not outdoors. But either way, let's crack on with this episode. As well as talking about the album, I will also be talking about the band, so brief history and any releases leading up to the album that I have picked. So, without further ado, this, once again, is Hypocrisy. This is their 1993 album, Osculum, Obscenum. Excellent stuff right here. Of course, the only two still left are Mikhail and Peter. They're still the only two original. They're the only two original members left. They have live musicians for when they do live shows in a venue or at a festival. But it's just been those two primarily since all the other various lineups that they had moved on. Because Lars here went on to play in other bands after leaving Hypocrisy and hasn't done anything else since. And Massey, I hope I said that right, went on to join Dark Funeral. Hence why when you hear his vocals, they're very much borderlining black metal, but still very much death metal. And of course, that's who worked on the album. Obviously, mixed by Peter right there, produced by Peter and Marcus. Messiot did all the vocals, music done by Hypocrisy, cover art by Wes, and remastered by Johannes right there. Because this is a re-release from last year, as you can see right there, but of course, originally released and of course, re-released by Nuclear Blast on the 12th of October 1993. But before I get on to talking about the band and the album in general, but I'll just say my overall, like what I think of the album as well. It's an excellent album. Quality death metal right here. A bit of artwork there on a nice purple vinyl. Giving it a spin. Spins beautifully. And let's get that back in. And of course, every time I play my vinyl, I give it a spray with the vinyl spray cleaner, record cleaner. And of course, it's a gatefold. So we've got the logo with the upside down cross and a picture of the Baron right there. So I got a bit of itchy nose there. And yeah, nice band picture there with a green light right there. And one of my favorite logos in metal, specifically death metal. And the artwork is fantastic. Sums up the band in general. I mean, sums up the album. Just how sick and disgustingly brutal it is. Now let's talk about the band themselves. Hypocrisy formed under a different name in 1988. Peter formed it as a side project under that name from 88 to 91. Lived in America during the late 80s and early 90s. Got influenced by a lot of the American death metal bands when living there. Moved back to Sweden and pretty much incorporated into the band that we know today, which didn't officially form until October of 1991. So at least pretty much 1 month before I was even born. So there you go. Hypocrisy's first logo was actually done by the original vocalist, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty much, which was Mess's idea logo basically, and it was made by Peter. I'm not trying to say his last name, but obviously he did the logo for pretty much quite a few of the releases, be it splits or albums. And of course, in 1992, they did their first demo called Rest in Pain, which they released themselves. At least a couple of those songs from that went on to their first album. Then they did the promo EP #1 from the same year, which was released by Nuclear Blast. So they signed to Nuclear Blast. And of course, I mentioned this already because Resurrection is also on this, along with Sinister and Afflicted. Then that goes on to Penetralia, their debut. What a debut that is for them to start off with. They were a 5-piece at that time. And had, the guitarist Johannes Osterberg. I hope I said that right. I think this was the only album he did, and I think he was only in the band for that year alone. And then that goes on to one of the tracks is actually on this album, Pleasure of Molestation from 1993, which was released by Relapse instead of Nuclear Blast. Not got a clue why that even is, but there you go. And at least on that, like, 4 of the songs is on this album. So let's crack on with their second album. Again, Osculum, Obscenum. So let's talk about the songs. Just to get out of the way, guitar work, the shredding, the nasty guitars, the dirty bass, the pounding drums, and the evil vocals. You know, all very well done. Because obviously everything I said basically just sums up all the stuff on this album in a nutshell. And yeah, let's crack on with the songs. So the first one I've got up on the Metal Archives as well is here. So that is The Pleasure of Molestation, which is the longest track on the album, which starts off with this atmospheric opening and then goes straight into just relentless death metal. Then exclamation of a necrophag, which is again continuing that on with that brutality, with the guitars, bass, drums, vocals, and then of course throughout the album you will get that hints of keyboard every now and then, which gives it that added level of atmosphere to the album. And then that goes on to Osculum, Obscenum, the title track of the album, which is the first time I actually heard by the band. That's how I got into them. You know, some chuggy guitar riffs there, and then, you know, getting a mix of growling and screaming right there, the vocals. And Lars, when he goes for the drums, he's going for it on this album, as well as the debut as well. And then we go to Necronomicon. What a song. One of my other favorites from this album is nice bit of tremolo at the start, and then it has like a little bit of a bit after. Can't really describe it, I remember, but you probably know which bit I'm on about. It's kind of hard to know what the lyrics are because they didn't really print lyrics in the album, but I mean, that's no skin off my nose. And then it goes into black metal. Obviously, they did the cover of Black Metal by Venom and kept true to the cover. Still made it quite punky in areas, but pretty much just straightforward death metal with this. cover, and pretty much everything complements it. And then we get Inferior Devotees, which continues the rest of the album on. So obviously the cover is pretty much a death metal sounding song, obviously it coming from pretty much on a death metal album. They death metaled it up, but still got that mix, like I said, of punk for that cover. But what I'm saying is it goes back into just straightforward death metal. Then it goes to Infant Sacrifices, still carrying on the brutality of the album with everything I've mentioned, with the guitars, the bass, the drumming, the vocals. Then into Attachment to the Ancestor, which I believe is the second longest song on this album. Yes, because the first one is 6 minutes and 1 second. 6 minutes and 1 second long. This one is 5 minutes and 35 seconds long. And then after that, to end it all off, and I hope I get this name right because I've been trying to say it before recording this, Otophus. I hope I said that right. My pronunciation skills are not the best, as you know. And that ends this 42-minute, 16-second long album. Clocks in at 42 minutes and 16 seconds. Yeah, definitely an album that if you love your death metal, definitely get this in your collection. Like I mentioned, the keyboards, it gives it that added level of atmosphere. If you're not really into keyboards, in the style that it is, then you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as me and anyone else that likes this album, loves this album, should I say. But yeah, like I said, each their own. If you don't like a certain album, certain style of metal or anything along those lines, again, it's no skin off my nose, but there you go. So overall, one of my favorite albums, just because of how just how well mixed, mastered, produced it was. Obviously by Peter here, mixed by Peter Tagren, but produced by Peter Tagren and Marcus. I hope I say this name right. I'm gonna probably butcher it. Starring Gur. Again, so my pronunciation skills are crap, so I'm not going to keep trying to pronounce a name of a producer or even a song sometimes, or even the album itself from one of my last videos. Yeah, Wes Ben Scooter. Obviously, I hope I said his name right as well. Obviously, did artwork for a bunch of other bands, as I've mentioned before. So if you want to know more about him, go. I believe I mentioned him in the Resurrection episode, but obviously he did Resurrection as well as others, as well as those, as phrase that, as well as Hypocrisy and Resurrection. Yeah, like I said, it's Swedish death metal, but very American inspired, very American death metal inspired, influenced, and I can say that with you could phrase again. You could say that with Into the Grave by Grave. That's also next album. If you've not heard it, you know, definitely up there with a lot of the greats there. Obviously, this came out at the same time, like I said, of like Resurrections, Embalmed Existence, Mortar Skulls, Dying Remains, and there's countless others. Heartbreak by Carcass and Individual Thought Patterns by Death and The Erosion of Sanity by Gorguts, just to name a few more there. And obviously, this would have been an album, like with some of the others I mentioned, might have been overlooked. But for those who have been into death metal and are more attuned to death metal and love death metal more, you probably would have just kept going further into the rabbit hole of it and found this absolute gem and been like, why isn't this being talked about? I'm going to talk about it because some fanzines would have talked about albums that most big magazines like Kerrang and Metal Hammer wouldn't have probably covered. Not a lot of them anyway. But definitely an album that I think would have been overlooked around that time, because there is a lot of a lot of great gems out there, a lot of hidden gems, and I'm not saying it's a hidden gem now. Hopefully, a lot of people know about it. But like I said, this is why I do this series, because there's going to be people watching this that don't know this album or the other albums that I've mentioned, or might know the bands but didn't know about those specific albums. Hence why I'm showing this here this evening, because it is basic. Yeah, 9 minutes past 9 here in the evening. So wherever you are, it might be in the morning or afternoon, wherever you're living in the world. And primary focusing this towards more death metal fans. Definitely one for you if you have been listening to death metal for I don't know how long, let's say the last couple of years now, and you're looking for something new. Definitely this one, and countless more that I will be showing in this series. And I'll mention it again at the end of this video because I've been mentioning it again before, but you know what I'm on about. So my overall conclusions of this album: it's heavy, excellent, brutal, well, production is well crafted, well crafted production, mixed, engineered beautifully. You can definitely get the dedication from all the guys on this album. And most importantly, it's a timeless masterpiece. And I've said that about, if you watch this series, you know how many times I have said that specific word, because that's the word I got in with when that's the overall conclusion of the album. Obviously, I say other things before that, but the overall conclusion of it all is it's a timeless masterpiece for pretty much the reasons I just said. So it's heavy, it's brutal, excellent, monumental as well. An absolutely savage record. Definitely one that everybody should have heard at least once, maybe even 10, 20 times. Still, like, either you still own it or you don't, or recently bought it again because you might have had to sell it for obvious reasons. But like I said, I found this at Black City Records, sealed, never played, and I played it, and beautiful sounding album. I love this so much. There might be someone out there watching this who's also a metal YouTuber would probably think there's an album better than this. Totally your opinion at the end of the day, but come on, this album is absolutely savage. 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 Savage stuff right here. But like I say, everyone's got their opinion at the end of the day, so everyone's got their opinion. So overall, just one hell of a banger. Quality, 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 excellent, nasty, savage death metal right here. And hopefully a new band for all of you death metal maniacs out there. Anyone who's been even if you've been into death metal for the past 30 years, because obviously a lot of this album is 31 years old. It will be 31 years old come October. And you probably never heard this album and you've just heard it for the first time, but you're a death metal veteran. Probably like, where's this been all my life? You know, where's it been? And for those who have been into death metal, even if you've been into it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you're looking for something new, and you've heard this for the first time, well, if you heard this one already, go to their debut and then continue on and see where you like. You might like everything they release. You might just like the earlier stuff. Either way, you found a new band by either watching this specific video or you went on to Mark G with a C, Death Doom Metalhead, Ken's Death Metal Crypt, Manly Loves Death Metal, whoever, whichever one of us shows it, and whoever you heard it from first, that's a great feeling right there. So once again, Hypocrisy and Osculum, Obscenum, savage, excellent quality death metal right here. I have so many more to show you like that, and that is it for another episode of my Metal Vault. So much more gems like this I will be showing in this excuse me, in this series, and as well as collection updates and various other videos that I have planned for this channel. And obviously, talking about death metal, I got Ken of Ken's Death Metal Crypt on the 9th of June, which will be, and if I can get it up just so you know what I'm on about here. So, I don't usually do, I've been mentioning this for a while now, but I'm going to mention it again. He has put it on his community page. So what I'm going to do is, before I end this video, I'm going to share the screen so you know what's going on. So if you see right here, we got Ken's logo there, my logo there, and obviously all done by Mark Riddick. Thank you very much for doing that once again. I hope if you're watching this, then thank you very much for doing that. So, like I said, and I mentioned his name while talking about this album. So be sure, if you can, for those here in the UK, I'll be starting at 7 p.m. and obviously it'll be 1 p.m. where he is. So yeah, that's it. So once again, thank you for tuning into this video. A lot more to come. Don't forget to like this video, share it around, comment down below if you heard this album. This was the first Hypocrisy album you ever heard. Saw him live when this came out, way before this came out. What your overall opinion of this album actually is. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to keep up with everything that I'm doing for this channel. So more My Metal Vault episodes, favorite death metal albums, which I will be getting onto, and obviously I'll be actually showing them in live stream that I'm doing with Ken. Collection updates, obviously, because I'm buying a lot more. If you've looked at my Instagram recently, I just posted a gem that I've been trying to find for freaking years now. And occasional just other videos, might be a few rant videos, I don't know yet, or whichever. But primarily just Metal Vault episodes, collection updates, favorite death metal albums. Might go on to show my all-time favorite black metal albums, all-time favorite thrash metal albums, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much once again for tuning in. I have been Jake of Jake's Metal Chat. Keep that banner of metal well and truly high. I will see you all on, hopefully see you all on Sunday, the 9th of June for my live stream with Ken. And most importantly, I will see you all again in another episode of my Metal Vault.